So what we are going to do today is we're going to make an Elements of Art poster. You are going to need your basic supplies: crayons, markers, colored pencils, scissors, whatever you've got. And you could also use a Sharpie or a pen. But I'm going to start this out with pencil. So the first thing you're going to do is, with a regular piece of paper, even if it has lines on it, you're going to fold that paper in half and then fold it in half again. So basically, when you open it back up, you are going to have a horizontal line and you are going to have a vertical line. You're going to want to grab your pencil. I like to start it with pencil so I can erase if I want to, if I accidentally make the lines bumpy. And I'm just going to go over those fold lines, and then I'm going to add a diagonal from the middle to each corner. And when I do this, it is going to create 8 spaces on my paper. I'm going to go over the lines with Sharpie once I have written the Elements of Art in one of my triangles that I've created, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to use Sharpie at all. You can actually use pencil for this whole entire project. Now we're going to add each element of art one at a time, so try to keep up. So now I'm going to start kind of like a clock, and I'm going to add line in the next triangle next to the Elements of Art. And then I know that a line is a line with a mark that has greater length than width. So what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to add any different kind of line that I can think of. A straight line, a horizontal line, a vertical line, a diagonal line, perpendicular lines, a thick line, a thin line, a curved line. Some of the lines you might be able to come up with on your own. I may not have even added all the lines to it, but basically it's going to kind of look like a Zentangle when you're done with that area. The next triangle area next to line is going to be shape. So let's think of geometric shapes that we use all the time: circles, triangles, squares, basic shapes. But there's also organic shapes. So organic are shapes that kind of can be from nature. They're irregular shapes. And so if you think of the word organic, sometimes I think of organic milk, and organic milk is more natural. It comes from nature. So those shapes move around a little bit more. They're not perfect shapes like geometric shapes. So the next element of art is color. So when you get to this section, I want you to write the word color and then grab a yellow, blue, and red marker or colored pencils or crayons. Now, why would I ask you to get red and yellow and blue? That's right, because they're the primary colors. They are actually the beginning of all the colors. The word primary means number 1. So without red and yellow and blue, we wouldn't have any other colors. So go ahead and make a red, a yellow, and a blue dot in that section. As you can see, my markers didn't work. So I'm adding an R for red, a B for blue, and a Y for yellow. In between those primary colors, we then have what's called secondary colors. Those two colors mixed together make another color. Red and yellow make orange, blue and yellow make green, and blue and red make purple, or sometimes we call that violet. Now the next element of art is going to be texture. Texture is the way something feels or looks like it would feel. So we're going to write the word texture, but we're not going to actually be able to add texture that we can feel on this. but we can add things that look like they have texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines in a pattern. These are horizontal lines. And then I'm going to try to make this look like a brick wall. So I'm going to add some lines down to create these rectangles. And then in a pattern, I'm just going to quickly shade every other one to make it kind of look like a brick wall. And we know a brick wall would have a rough texture. It's hard. It would be maybe a little bumpy. Now I'm going to think about the texture of fur. How would I show that in a drawing? So I am going to make little marks, not long lines, maybe some small lines, little dots. I'm not pushing down very hard with my pencil so you can't hear the marks that I'm making, but I'm making very intentional lines, some of them closer together, some of them farther apart, to make it look kind of like the texture of fur. Then I also think it's kind of important to talk about a line can have texture, like a zigzag line. If you repeat that line over and over, it gives the illusion also of texture. The next section is value. Now, value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So we talk about gradients when we talk about value. Value is what we do to make things look like they're 3D, even though they may be flat. So you're going to see I'm going to come in that top corner and I'm going to make a section that is the hardest that I can push with my pencil. The next strip that I color is a little bit, I'm pushing down a little lighter. The next strip I'm pushing down a little lighter. The next strip I'm pushing down even more lighter. And I can also use my finger to kind of blend those together if that's something that you want to try. Now, value takes a little bit of practice, so don't get frustrated. I've done value many, many times, and I actually like to practice it when I'm just sitting and doodling. So the more you practice, the better that you will get. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to work on 1 or 2 corners and adding value the way that I showed you to do it, and then we're going to move on to the next element of art. The next element of art is space, and I'm purposefully going to write space in the bottom corner of my paper. Now, in the top corner, I'm either going to choose a circle or a crescent. This shape is going to represent the moon, and the moon itself would be a positive space. Everything around it would be the negative space. Now we're going to use this to set up a landscape. So I'm going to add the horizon line where the sky meets the earth. And then above that, I'm going to make a slightly zigzag line to represent a mountain. Now, if you think about it and you're looking at a landscape, a tree that is right in front of you is going to be bigger than a tree that is on the horizon line. So I'm going to demonstrate what that means. Now, that's your perspective. How you see things changes because the objects that are farther away should appear smaller. Now, the last element of art is form. So we're going to write the word form, and then we're going to actually draw one form. I'm going to teach you how to draw a very simple cube. So you are going to start with your pencil. You are going to draw a square. And then on each corner, you're going to draw a small line the same exact length, pointing in the same direction all the way around. And then you are going to connect the end of those lines to each other. And that will give you a cube. A cube is a three-dimensional shape, and a form is a three-dimensional shape as well. So we have 3D forms, we have 2D shapes. So that's the difference between those two. But we can also think of other forms, such as a sphere, and you could actually use value to shade in a circle to create a sphere. We could think of a rectangular prism, pyramid, and there's lots of other 3D shapes we could name. So now you've completed all the elements of art. As you can see, sometimes we use these elements together to create a work of art, and sometimes we use them on their own. If you have extra time in class, look at your elements of art and finish the parts that you did not complete. Maybe you didn't include all the shapes you could think of, or you didn't finish your color wheel. Maybe you need a little extra practice in shading with value. Look at your paper and see what you can do to make it even better.